Well, the Idaho legislature is adding rungs to the ladder they need to climb before they can go home for the session. Supposed to be, original date was, I guess, last week, pushing it back to this week. We'll see what happens, because today the Senate returned two budgets back to committee because, as Senate leadership said on the floor, both bills have the same problem. Which is that? What are those problems, I should say?
Well, so we talked about yesterday, there's that specific clause in the transportation budget, and it's not just in the transportation budget, there's an administrative budget that goes along with that too, and that passed the House by a single vote, ITD budget specifically. But the Senate pumped the brakes today, sending it back to square one. We'll catch up on the basics here. In January of 2022, a frozen pipe burst and flooded the ITD State Street headquarters. Later that year, ITD declared the building a surplus. By September of 23, a group of companies won a public bid for the property. They offered nearly $52 million. The state even drafted a sales agreement, but this ITD budget explicitly revokes the agency's ability to go through with that sale. So JFAC leadership says it's fiscally responsible to keep the building and renovate the building, but others in the legislature say that's bad business to go back on your word, and it's a feeling that is echoed by developers in the area, and they fear that getting burned by the state on the future deal's a possibility. A career in real estate reveals a few foundational truths.
You buy into the market which you sell into.
And Dave Wally's fingerprints are everywhere.
City center that you see downtown.
He's the managing partner of Gardner and has no problem finding work.
Probably hadn't seen that many cranes, in the air.
But he's focused on finding the right work.
There were definitely a large number of new developers to the market who were willing to take risks bigger than some of the local folks.
Dave says that drove up a 9-bid race on the public auction for ITD's flooded headquarters on State Street. The winners offered nearly $52 million.
I think they got a very fair price out of it.
But it's unclear if they'll collect or if the deal will finalize at all. As written, the state's transportation budget revokes ITD's right to sell.
I wouldn't expect it from any state. I'm of a mindset that when you make a deal, you make a deal. It may not be the deal that you thought you made at the beginning, but it's still the deal you decided on.
Lawmakers are stuck in a debate between supporting their colleagues or keeping the state's word and reputation.
If I feel like there's an opportunity for the state to retrade the deal, why would I spend the money and energy to go make the bid?
That reality pushed the transportation budget
For the request, is there an objection?
back to where it started.
Hearing none, that is so ordered.
Meaning the Senate agrees revoking the right to sell could use a second set of eyes.
In my opinion, needs to be changed.
Lawmakers must pass agency budgets before the end of the session and plan to work quick, nearing their self-imposed deadline.
Time right now, I think, matters to all of us.
Time matters in the private sector too, just by a different name. Truth be told, money.
Well, I think at this point the legislature is going to do what the legislature is going to do. And in turn, the development community may not look at offerings that the state provides, which means in the future they won't have as many bidders for projects, which means they may not get the highest price. So they'll have to reassess that in the future.
Now, when this budget passed the House by a single vote, the House JFAC chair, that's Representative Wendy Horman, defended revoking the sale because the working group in JFAC decided financially that was the best move. And JFAC could change the language on what this says, and I guess those two bills now, they could choose not to change it and throw it back to the House and try it over again. But I admit I'm not fully convinced that exact same budget would pass the House again, because there were lawmakers that apologized voting for it the first time. Well, if they get a second vote on it.
It was one vote, correct?
Yeah, it was one vote.
It was one vote. And I understand the whole idea of, like, let's hold on to this piece of property and get more down the future. It's a long-term deal as opposed to just selling right now.
Yeah.
But the reputation thing, and to say, oh, that's not going to happen here, which is kind of what we're hearing with the abortion stuff as well. It seems like there's a little bit of that denial, I guess you would.
Perhaps.
All right. Thanks, Andrew.